just saw Korea's finest, Terran and Zerg, duke it out. That was a fun series, but I feel this is the complete opposite. Where in the last series we saw the Zerg attack the Terran over and over and over again. I kind of feel like this is going to be Clem attacking Serral over and over and over again. And it's going to look like it's a completely different matchup.
I think you're absolutely right. And I love how excited you are about that, because it's just different. It's different in every way. Like, the dynamic's going to change. And trying to practice for Serral is equally as hard as trying to practice for Clem. What they do and what they're good at, they are the second to none.
Yep, they just do it better than anybody else out there. As we hop into Golden Aura for the first match of this final best of 5 of the day. In the top left side, we are looking at the main base of the Finnish phenom himself, representing Basilisk. It is Serral.
And spawning over in the bottom right-hand side, as the Blue Terran representing Team Liquid, it is Clem. Your Basilisk boy versus my Team Liquid boy, Kev. This is going to be one for the ages, I think. 80K on the line for the winner. It's so much money, so much prestige.
It's perfect in that regard, but I think we all win when these two duke it out with each other. If you love StarCraft, you love watching Serral versus Clem. These two have so much history, you mention it, especially online. Clem has done pretty damn well against Serral in a couple of those big European regionals in the past, or in stuff like the WTO Code as playoffs. However, historically offline, Serral really does have Clem's number. And of course you can say like, yeah, that started when Serral was still just a bit better than Clem, and it took Clem a little while to catch up. Well, numbers don't lie. They've played 8 offline series against each other. Serral has won 7 of them. The only time that Clem got the best of Serral was at the ESL Masters in Atlanta towards the end of 2023. That was also the only big offline event that Clem has ever won. But I gotta say, Clem looked so incredibly good in that Atlanta. And of course in the WTL playoffs right after that. At that point, if Clem can bring that level once more, he can go incredibly far here at the Esports World Cup.
That Clem there, that game on Alcyone in particular back then, I really felt that was a massive turning point for him, especially against somebody like Serral, and it just felt like he just rode the wave from that point on and was just absolutely amazing for the next month. By far and away the most impressive play that we've seen out of Clem. So if he can somehow find a resurgence of that, I mean, he already took down Reina, which was a big deal. Reina took him down last year at the Gamers 8 in the semi-finals, actually, 3-0. He looked absolutely devastated, but going up against Serral doesn't get easier.
It does not, and it's such a massive match. I mean, Fancy and Rachel mentioned in this as well, there is $80,000 on the line for winning this best of 5. And of course, if you lose it, you still have a shot. You even have 2 more shots, but it really does become incredibly difficult to make it into that final 4. Dark has already taken 1 slot. The winner of this series takes the 2nd slot, and then the winner of the lower bracket of Group A dukes it out with the winner of the lower bracket of Group B, but only the winner of that match makes it into the final 4 as well. And then everybody else, including Ragnarok and Showtime, that we haven't really spoken about a whole lot, will fight over that final slot. So you could say that this is absolutely the quickest, shortest, and perhaps easiest route to get there, but how can it ever be easy when it's Clem or Serral standing in front of you on the other side of the battlefield?
This is like playing Super Mario Bros. On that map like Rainbow Road, where you have to take that shortcut, but it's the hardest one possible to make your journey way less. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to this. Clem is whipping out an opening that it's his at this point. It's 3CC, scouts with his SV, just make sure nothing's going on. 1 Rax Reaper into most likely Banshee Heli. And we saw a very different opening from him against Raynor on this map, where he did all those Cyclones early on, which got him a little bit of an edge. And Serral with quite an early Roach Warren here. Depending on the position, Clem might scout it, might not. It's going to be hard to get into that natural, though.
On a lot of the normal maps, I do think we're going to see Serral open up among these lines. He just loves the Roaches. He loves being greedy. Clem loves sacrificing the first 2 Hellions, just looking for some damage. And it felt like he's getting a couple of good shots off. Perhaps 1 more money shot there for Clem. Ends up getting 3 workers. That's not bad. And there is a good chance that the Reaper grabs another drone here. That grenade is solid, but morphing the drone into a Spore Crawler is also excellent defense by Serral. Saves the 2nd one as well. Overall, though, not bad by Clem. He forced some lost mining time. He's forcing a couple of the drones to morph into Spore Crawlers, and he got damaged. There's been plenty of games, and it seems like he's going to go for it once more. One of the drones tried to morph into an evolution chamber, but it got blocked by a different drone, so Serral really is in a little bit of trouble here in the early stages of Golden Aura.
Oh, I tell you what, he avoided damage there very nicely. The Evo, yeah, as you said, got blocked, and now round 3 of 2 Hellions just marching in, finding out what's going on, seeing the Roaches is a big deal. You obviously saw the Roach Warren earlier as well. well. Those Roaches, they are purely defensive at this point with the Banshee on the way.
Now, of course, Serral does have a very economic opening, since he didn't even invest in Zergling speed. He didn't make a lot of links, so losing a couple of drones is acceptable. I think all the lost mining time, the indirect damage, hurts him a little bit more here. But overall, in the end, Jona's going to be okay with that. That really got scary, because it felt like we were one Hellion volley away from losing 5 more drones, and at that point it would have been a victory for Clem. I think at this point Serral says, all right, could have been cleaner, but overall I'm pretty happy with how all of that went. Are we ready for the Banshees though?
I mean, I see a few spores on the way, and I was there at breakfast with Serral, and he was talking with a few other pros, and I think Showtime was just talking about, you somehow have less queens, but you're in the right locations all the time, but here, getting into the main here, how on earth did these guys slip by? Maybe 2 focused on the Banshees, and oh my goodness. If it didn't work the first 2 times, it sure did the third.
Yep, it felt that Clem just kept on looking for more and more damage, knowing that Serral likes to play very greedy, likes to get a high drone count as well, and he does it without Zergling speed. And normally it's incredibly difficult to pull these run-bys off, because Zerglings, especially on creep, are mega quick. They can get a surround on these Hellions, and then you're just donating units as the Terran. But against Roaches, it is a different ball game. Serral definitely struggling a little bit at this point. Second time that he tried to drop an Evolution Chamber and that it didn't manage to go down. These are frustrating moments, even for a man like Serral who's been here, has done that. We can see the drones derp a little bit. Clem is absolutely finding a lot of value here in the early game.
In very simple ways as well. Like, this is getting way more damage done than it should. Now, the reign of the Banshees will most likely come to a bit of an end here. We'll be able to get out just by the skin of its teeth there, along with the other Banshee. That's a big deal, keeping those alive, because they can truly be a thorn in your opponent's side for quite some time now.
Yep, they can really help in not only controlling the center of the map, but they can help out defensively. They can spot some Roach run-bys later on. You can bring these Banshees home, you can repair them and just put them on patrol somewhere, and then Clem will always have some eyes in a certain corner of the map. Serral now fires up Zergling speed as he's morphing into, or he's working towards +1 melee, +1 carapace too, as he also drops a very quick infestation pit. Could potentially still be looking for a quick hive, but this hive is going to be nowhere near as quick as he would have liked it to be, and that's of course because of all the damage he took from the aggression of Clem. And I do like that Clem is playing this with a lot of confidence so far, because we've seen sometimes in the past where Clem can be hyper-aggressive against other Zergs. It's almost like he showed too much respect against Serral, and we get it, right? Serral's so impressive, he's so intimidating, but Clem has to believe in his own abilities as well, and so far he's absolutely doing that here in the first 8 minutes of Golden Aura.
He really is. He's moments away from finishing some very key upgrades here. 1-1 finish, combat shield on the way as well. And it's kind of funny, like Serral's way of going into Roaches, then to go into Lings later. It feels kind of backward in a way, but we'll see what he makes do with it. He was definitely not hoping to take the amount of damage that he has done. And yeah, it's a very quick high from him after all things said and done.
Serral has been doing this for a little while, and normally the man is bulletproof. It is so incredibly difficult to find damage against him. Even with just a couple of queens and a couple of Roaches, it just seems like there is no opening to be found. But Clem has found these openings, and at this point, yeah, even for Serral, this is going to be incredibly difficult, because now Clem gets that mobility spike, that power spike, with all these bio units, with Stim. Their upgrades are about to finish up, combat shield is done. And if you're Serral and you're playing this style, you don't have a lot of very mobile anti-air, so it's incredibly difficult as a Zerg to have defensive units in all the right locations.
Oh, it really is. And I mean, Clem, he's right where he wants to be. He's on the other side of the map. The creep spread hasn't been happening either. I mean, he's been so busy with defending all the earlier harass that he would have loved that to be way further. Getting up a 5th base might actually be a little bit tricky. A moment there, the Marines started focusing the Roaches, and that's actually a big deal, not denying that base, but a huge army will be accompanying. And those Banshees you talked about, Kev, they're back with a group of Marines.
They are back for round 2. They're healthy again as well. And there are some Marines. Roaches here do not stand a chance. There's way too much DPS in this Terran army. There's a tank sieging up, multiple tanks sieging up on the right side as well. But no Marines protecting those tanks. That's perhaps a little mistake on the side of Clem. But we are now looking at slow Banelings trying to connect with Marines of Clem. And I can guarantee you, Ben, slow Banelings will probably never connect with Marines of Clem, because that man can snipe Banelings with speed on creep to slow Banes off creep. That's an easy day at the office for Clement.
And he's still in the main. These Banshees are causing a lot of extra damage here. I mean, the Marines got cleaned up. The Banshees, only 1 bile available here. Drones are dying in the 3rd base right now. This spells a lot of trouble for Serral. He needs to survive here. He's got 4 Vipers on the way, but against this amount of bio, it's going to be really hard for him to get a real grip in this game.
Yep, that's going to help abducting a tank and maybe dropping a parasitic bomb on the medevacs or finally taking care of these Banshees. But Clem is all over Serral here in the very first game. Serral is not in the economic spot he would love to be in. He doesn't have the amount of bases he would love, and he definitely does not have any map presence. I mean, when is the last time that Serral went to the other side of the map with literally anything? We haven't seen anything occur on Clem's side of the map, and those are the kind of games that Clem loves to play. Clem loves to be in your face and just be non-stop aggressive. I mean, the observer is showing us Serral barely saw the third. He has never seen the fourth. He simply did not have extra units to even take a look on the other side of the map. What he does have right now is Baneling speed, but he is in all sorts of trouble.
Yeah, he's just not been able to get a grip of this game so far, and maybe gets a medevac over here. I mean, that could definitely kind of worm his way back, but Clem, he is not about to let Serral sit and breathe here. That is a lot of bio. Viper's already nice and early and gets a few nice blinding clouds here, but that amount of bio is standing strong, and a lot of Ravagers were morphed earlier for the fight, but there is just too much Clem.
Excellent target fire there by Clem as well, as he gunned down one of those Vipers, picked off a lot of the Banelings, and I think not even Serral can hang in there. We know how incredibly difficult it is to get Serral out of a game, but at this point the Zerg army is simply not powerful enough. One of the tanks will fall, but Clem is still sending more units to the top left side of the map, and Serral knows it. This is not something that even he can really keep up. A few more corrosive balls will go down. They connect with the medevacs, but the numbers don't lie. There is so much blue coming to the top left side, and Serral at this point is just hanging on for dear life, trying to sneak out a few more Banes, hoping that he can eventually see an Ultra, but I don't think we're going to see any Ultras here, Ben.
Even if Ultras do come, Kev, there's so many Marauders in the mix. The upgrades are coming online as well for Clem, and it's not as if he's all in with this. He's taken a 5th and 6th command center back at home, expanding to a 5th base. Serral's down to pretty much 3 at this point. I know he took that 4th at the lower location, but this is not where you want a Zerg game to be.
This is the very first time that Serral is able to sneak a couple of units to the other side of the map, but it is just a little bit too late. All the Zergs are terrified when Liquid Clem is on fire as he takes the 1-0 lead here in the final best of 5 of the day and delivers the first map loss to Serral of the tournament.
That's big. That's huge, actually, especially for Clem's confidence, because I've talked about it a little bit with Clem. If he does lose the first map, sometimes you can see him crumble a little bit. Don't get me wrong, he'll still play damn good games, but having that little bit of confidence and momentum is a huge deal for this man.
Yep, and don't forget that this is Golden Aura. This is the Zerg map pick. Now, this is by no stretch of the imagination a free win for Zerg. Zergs absolutely have to work for it, but this is normally a map that Serral expects to win. Map 2 is going to be Coast River. Now, Serral obviously has shown us in the past, I think back of that absolutely insane game against Oliveira, that he can win against world-class Terrans on Ghost River, but it is not going to be easy. I really wonder if the man from Finland has something special planned for this map. We saw Rainer earlier today coming up with a very cool creative build, some aggression that we normally don't expect from these European Zergs that are all about the honest approach, non-stop macro, right, winning in the late game. Does Serral also have something special for us?
We'll see, we'll see. I mean, it worked against exactly this man, right? In Clem on this map. Anyhow, let's introduce these players spawning over in the top right of Ghost River. It is the Red Zerg. It is Basilisk Serral.
That man has played in 3 offline events this year, and that was only the 4th map he dropped in 3 different events. I mean, that sounds ridiculous, but that really is what it is. Only 1 in Katowice and only 2 in Dallas. In the top left side of Ghost River, we are looking at the main base with the man who is 2 maps away from punching his ticket into the Final 4 and making Team Liquid incredibly happy in regards of the club rewards. This is Clem.
As far as international tournaments go, and I say this was almost like a dream bracket for Clem. And I know that's so wrong to say, but it has been Koreans that have given him most trouble. And I mean like the Maros of the world, even like the heroes here and there. Solar and Dark are also scary. When it came to those European titles that he was continually winning online, and I know that's so weird to say, right? But if he can do it, make it through this, get to the top 4, that is so humongous for little old Clem.
It absolutely is, but I'm smiling a little because you're just describing a dream bracket as opening up against Classic, playing Rainer in round 2 and playing Serral in round 3. Well, if that's a dream bracket, then I want to know what a difficult bracket looks like.
I mean, it's one of the most difficult, but it's one of the ones that if you are a Clem fan, you look at that and it's like, he can do this. Like, it's not one of these where he's the overwhelming favorite. I would say, like, maybe at the moment a little bit of a favorite against Reina. Was a really close series against Serral. I'd say he's still not the favorite, but this is somebody that he has beaten in the past. It's not undoable for him, especially if he brings that fire that he did earlier this year in Atlanta.
Now, I do get it, because obviously in the past, some of the TVT woes have been hunting Clem a little bit, especially Korean Terrans that are just excellent in the matchup. Maru in particular have given him some troubles, but we can't ignore the fact that Clem did beat Maru last year at Game S8 in the quarterfinals, and at that point, I think that was one of the biggest wins of his career so far. That was, of course, before he won Dallas, and winning a tournament always feels better, even if the prize money is a bit smaller. Well, we will see what happens here on Gulls River. I think we can all agree that Clem got far from an easy bracket, though, here at the Esports World Cup. And let's be honest, all 18 players that we've got here are amazing. There is no such thing as an easy bracket.
That's why I felt wrong saying it, Kev. It was like more about the Korean-esque folk that tend to give Clem more trouble, whereas if Serral spawned in that other bracket, not avoiding Reina and Clem, he'd have probably been more happy about that, which is so weird, but it's the World Championship. All the best are here. We're literally not missing one player. These guys all deserve it, and right now, this is for $80,000 guaranteed.
Now, Ghost River is a very different map than not just Golden Honor. Honestly, almost every single map we play currently in competitive StarCraft II. This is one of these maps where there is no option to take your third base on a different location. No, if Clem would have blocked that, if Clem would have tried to prevent that, Serral would just be stuck on 2 bases. And if you open up with roaches, you're just kind of stuck on 2 bases for a little too long. So Serral is going to switch it up. And we do see Zergling Speed finishing up 3 minutes and 25 seconds into the game. As Clem says, all right, Zergling Speed. We see a hatchery. This is going to try to take a little look into the main base. We've got a couple of Hellions going to the other side of the map. I do believe that the Zerglings of Serral have avoided these Hellions. And now I really wonder, does Clem have anything in his natural, or is he in danger of already losing a couple of SCVs?
Very often Terrans have rallied the 3rd and 4th Hellion to be defensive, but this from Serral getting quite a bit of damage here. 4 SCV, 5. I mean, that number's going to keep on growing. There are Hellions in the main, though, trying to deal some counter damage. That is a big lineup. 3 drones going down. This is already a very weird TVZ here, but I think it's edged out in Serral's favor.
Yes, I think Serral is going to be incredibly happy with the 6 SCVs that he killed there, but he did take some damage at home as well, was forced to produce even more Zerglings. I don't think any Zerglings got into the main base of Clem. We can see that it's all very normal there, but it'd still be very comfortable for Serral to confirm that. Nope, he has not been able to take a little sneak peek up that ramp. I'm sure that he's expecting Hellions, Banshees, and a 3rd CC, because this is such a fantastic map to do it, but it's still nice to confirm those things, especially when you play against someone like Clem.
Absolutely. I mean, Clem, he's really been whipping out some weird-ish builds for him this tournament, right? Because as far as it goes, he is the guy that does the build he's doing right now. Reaper, Hellion, Banshee, 3CC. It's his absolute bread and butter, and it's what he's resorting back to against Serral, which is really cool to see. Serral this time getting Evo Chambers very early. I don't think there's any Roach Warren online for him as of yet, but he is looking to grow very quickly here.
I mean, we think back of that amazing game that Serral played on Ghost River against Oliveira. I think it's one of the best TVZs that we've seen in a long time, because we think of those memes like you can't just stay on Lair Tech and make Linkbane and beat a 3-3 Bioterran, and Serral showed us that apparently that is possible. But that was against Oliveira. That is a game that Clem has absolutely seen, and I'm sure that Clem has learned from it, and that whenever he sees Serral on this map, he will think back of that game. And Clem can go so heavy on the Widow Mines that I think it's impossible to get the job done with just Lings and Banes, but we will see if we get there. Perhaps Serral has something different in mind once he's on Lair Tech. Perhaps we still see a quick hive. We'll keep an eye on it, as right now Clem is just sharking around, want to make sure that A, everything is normal, and B, trying to keep a creep at bay and perhaps even find some damage.
Yeah, the creep's not super crazy right now, and the Banshees do get their first shots off, but Serral very quick to the pull there. Didn't lose a drone on the initial Banshee being shown, and now Serral knows for sure what he's up against. Now, he doesn't have the ability to make the Overseer, so these Banshees will be a little bit of a nuisance for some time. Might be able to get a kill here? No. Serral's looking sharp this game with the defense.
I mean, Serral has looked sharp throughout the entire year. First game, obviously, not even Serral is going to be able to kill Hellions if you don't have Zergling Speed and the Hellions break through. Like maybe if you have a full wall up, you can keep them at bay, as Clem does get a cancel on the 4th hatchery on the right side, and at the same time kills a Queen in the natural. That's not easy, man. Finding success against Serral in the early game is incredibly difficult, and Clem is finding it, and it somehow seems that all of these units keep on getting away on incredibly low HP for the man from Team Liquid.
Yeah, the dancing and the juking from both these guys very good. Serral not faltering on producing drones, though. 77, that is a darn quick infestation pit as well. He delayed the +1 melee, but it's not the biggest deal in the world in this situation. Far more prioritizing the carapace, far better for those banelings as well. If he gets up to a quick hive here, that could absolutely turn this game on its head.
Yep, we're going to get a macro hatch as well on the natural. That's kind of cool to see. But we can't ignore the fact that this is Ghost River, and tanks are so freaking powerful on Ghost River. They can keep your third base safe, but you can also go for some terrifying tank pushes early on. And if you don't have bailing speed yet, that is going to be incredibly difficult to deal with. Clem is already going for the first move out. At this point, this Terran army is really not all that terrifying. But a couple of Marines with stim and a tank is always scary when it's Clem controlling those units.
Absolutely, and those rocks, you can see if you get a tank behind them at any point, so hard to take out. Clem was trying to bait out an army with that tank.
A stim here could be problematic for Serral, perhaps. Yep, couple of the Queens, we're going to have to bring the Zerglings over. Queens will start transfusing each other. Good job there by the finish. Phenom does not lose a Queen, but these Queens cannot go off creep. Oh, they're not totally certain which way they want to go. In the end, only a single Queen went down. Serral playing with fire there because Clem is a guy that will jump on every single opportunity you give him.
And right now, speed as finished for these Banelings. They are far more effective on and off creep. +1/+1, combat shells coming online. Big upgrades for the both of them. This Banshee still being annoying. And I mean, Serral will start dealing with it in the best way he can, but I think he'd like to be way further ahead right now and still being a nuisance.
We've already lost a couple of Queens, and it seems like we are in danger of losing the third Queen as well. There was an Overseer morphing somewhere. This is not a fight I feel like the Queen should win if the Banshee would have gone for it, but Clem, I guess, didn't want to get Jebeta to fly in range of that Spore Crawler. Hive is about to finish up, but Clem has a very good idea that Hive has been on the way for a little while, because that Banshee has been right on top of it. So I think Clem knows that he can start becoming a little bit more aggressive. Serral, however, has managed to successfully sneak a lot of units to the other side of the map, is looking for a cancel on the fourth base, but will not get it because there are plenty of Marines to save the day.
And those Lings are not in a position where they can deal with this front push. They are working their way back now, but Clem's done such a good job of just minimizing the creep spread. Like, Serral, he wants to be able to see way more than he is capable of doing right now. Vipers are on the way, Adrenal Glands as well. Big upgrades coming online soon for him. And I mean, if he gets +2 carapace, I think Clem kind of forgot about, or his armory was a little bit late.
But Clem absolutely knows that, and that's why Clem knows that it's time to kind of go pedal to the metal. Of course, you have to respect the high ground. You have to be very cautious when you step on creep. But Clem knows that Serral's army is about to become a whole lot more powerful, so he tries to be a bit more aggressive. Serral comes in from the bottom left as well, but Clem snipes a crazy amount of Banelings, and yes, Serral gets a couple of the tanks, but there are still a lot of Marines remaining. I don't know if that really was the fight that Serral was looking for. The good news for Serral and all the Serral fans out there is that he does still have a bunch of Banelings. He's got 48 Zerglings on the way, and Adrenal Glands is getting closer and closer.
That was such a sad fight when you looked at the production timer. Like, the +2 carapace was just about finishing, and when it was just Marines left over, I mean, this fight will probably go a lot better. Oh, I was going to say it was going to look a lot better, but that Widowmine downtown just killed absolutely everything there, and Serral absolutely flustered here. I mean, he is against a very, very huge Wrecking Ball outside his base. We'll be able to get some nice eco damage down here. Maybe stop the PF from morphing. That's a nice win from Serral, though, to get back in this.
Yep, what a moment for a couple of Zerglings to make it to the other side of the map, because that's going to give Serral time to replace a couple of those Banelings he just lost to that Widowmine, and will now also give him time to start working with +2 melee, start working with Adrenal Glands, and let's not forget about that Viper that's in the mix. Clem tried to gun it down there. Serral saves it. Serral, I think, absolutely still in trouble, but if he hangs in there a little bit longer, his army is going to be a whole lot more powerful than it was 2 minutes ago.
It really will be, and remember, that fourth base only just went down for Clem. His work account's very good, and oh, that is quite uncharacteristic, but Serral just in a lot of moments at the right time, and PF will be finishing. Lovely Widowmine connection there, avoiding it with all the SCVs. Clem feels like it's time to go, as you said. Big upgrades coming in from Serral, 3-3. 3-3 hasn't started yet for Clem, and he just wants to go. He's making Cyclones as well. That must be a bit of a misstep, sure.
Yeah, I feel like we saw that earlier today as well. One accidental Cyclone at a very random moment. We've got a couple of Widowmines in the mix. Serral really is in a bit of trouble. Can these Widowmines find Dream Connections once more? Clem is the very best in the business when it comes to burrowing, unburrowing, and retargeting Widowmines over and over again. One of these mines gets a shot off, but excellent split off there by Serral. Serral takes an incredibly good fight without even using some of that Viper energy, but Clem is all over that hatchery in the bottom right side. A little bit of burrow on burrow. There you have it. Clem is just proving my point.
Yeah, I mean, they're both playing so well at this point, but I mean, Serral, he's down to 4 bases, Kev. he can't take a fifth either. This is a lot of Zerg to deal damage, but there are just Terran units here, there, and everywhere. Serral did defend down in the south, right side of the map, but he is not getting the damage that he needs right now.
That was successful as an attack, but yeah, obviously we did lose that hatchery in the bottom right side. Now Serral still over these units, has plenty of Zerglings to work with. He's going to fire up a few more Vipers. I am sure that he would love Ultras, but at this point Serral does not have the economy to drop an Ultralisk Cavern. Meanwhile, Clem's army is only going to get bigger and more powerful with those 3-3 upgrades on the way. More Widow Mines added to the mix, and now we've got Liberator sieging up. And the only anti-air that Serral can really work with is a bunch of Queens and of course a Viper, maybe for a Milk Duck. But these Vipers need to take care of other units as well.
They really do. Clem stepping deep on the creep here, right outside the natural. This is a huge swell army that he's got. Serral's trying to do some counter damage on the other side of the map, but Clem is here with a huge supply advantage. The PF, the Widow Mines, dealing the damage as well. He's going to take some eco damage, but it is not enough. Clem 2-0, and you can see how much it means. A little bit of fist bump from him, a nice sigh of relief as well. He's 2-0 up and one map away from a guaranteed top 4 at the biggest tournament that we've ever seen.
And he's playing incredibly sharp, incredibly quick. It really was that one Widowmine shot on the right side of Ghost River. Obviously the game was looking all right for Clem. He had a perfect read on it because he was all over the main base of Serral. He knew about the quick hire. He knew the timings that he could work with and certain timings that he had to avoid. Serral of course had his moments as well. Early on with Zerglings, later on Zerglings showed up at a really good moment. Right before this fourth base was a planetary, but it's that one engagement right before that armor upgrade. But Serral thought he saw a moment, he wanted to go for it, but that Widowmine that blew up, what was it, 10 Zerglings and at least 5 Banelings, if not more, truly turned the tide of that entire battle and perhaps the rest of the game.
Yeah, I felt there was one moment as well where Serral took the fight, like he felt it was the right time to move, you know, but it was a moment, like +2 carapace finished at the end of it, and positionally, maybe it was the fight to take, but it really wounded him. I think it was this moment here. You can see the +2. It's seconds away from finishing, and this is off creep as well. He just didn't want Clem to really fortify this location, but still brutal to see that the upgrade finishes as the fight goes off.
Let's take a look at that
right
on the left side.
Okay, that was at least 10 Banelings there, at least.
Yep, an absolutely insanely good Widowmine shot there for Clem, and we did see that Clem always pays attention to his Widowmines. He looks to burrow, unburrow them, he will retarget it. It is not that easy that you send 2 Zerglings forward and you hope that Widowmine fires or you even track that Widowmine shot into the Terran army. No, Clem is way too good for that. But it'd be silly to count this man out because we know how incredibly difficult it is to win a best of whatever against him. He's down 0-2. But if anyone can turn this around, it has to be this man, the most accomplished StarCraft II player in history. It's Basilisk Serral.
And looking for maybe, or definitely is, the biggest prize winning of his career so far. One map away, spawning in the bottom left. It is Clem.
Amphion, a very interesting third map. Obviously, this map is not Omega Zerg friendly, and Zergs have definitely been, you know, pretty vocal about it. Yeah, I think we can say that. I mean, a Ghost River is just a difficult map, but Serral's had some success on it, so I'm not mega shocked to see that we played on it. I'm also not shocked that Serral still had a relatively normal way of playing it, because he did have that one moment in the early game where he snuck a couple of Zerglings to the other side of the map, and if he kills 6 SCVs but he doesn't lose anything at home, he's off to a mega start there. And then even Ghost River starts looking a whole lot more appealing to the Zergs. But yes, he got the damage, then Clem kind of found some counter damage in return, and it really takes a little while before Zerg players can get going. Serral was just never able to work with those overwhelming amounts of units. Amphion, however, is a much bigger map, and even though it seems like it's fantastic for Terran drop play, it doesn't really seem to be Clem's best map for some weird reason, because I look at this map, I look at the layout, I'm like, man, this has Liquid Clem written all over it, but Clem has historically struggled on Amphion.
It's an unusual map in a lot of ways, and this is a map that if you played against a player like Dark, where it's like Nida City, there's a lot of space in your natural, in your main to get those kind of things going. The left side of the map doesn't really belong to you, nor your opponent, which makes it kind of weird, like the avenues for creep spread. Very, very straightforward, but yeah, I'm with you. I think Clem's best when it comes down to the most standard maps that you can play, where he can really play his game and do it better than anybody.
Ooh, close call there. Serral definitely does not want to lose any drones here in the early game against the Reaper. because it's obviously been a tough best of 5 for him, and you want to make sure that the early
just
game...
with drones right now?
Absolutely. We are waiting for the queen, but Clem obviously knows that. So Clem is going to stick around a little bit, did grab 1 kill there. I believe it was a drone.
It was a drone, yeah. I mean,
the one that got cancelled.
Interesting that he just...
This is greedy by Serral. It's very, very greedy. Can the Reaper block the drone? Yes, it can. That's going to force this drone to morph into an extractor as well. And obviously it's going to cause a bit of a delay on the third base.
I haven't seen a Zerg player try to defend against Reapers in a long time without making Zerglings. And, oh, I love that extra drone coming down there, because Clem was all about denying this. He will probably lose this drone as well. Maybe should have tried to switch it to another distraction. You can tell Serral's like, man, this isn't going how I planned at all.
Normally losing 2 drones against a Reaper is incredibly frustrating and almost feels like it's game-ending damage. But because Serral has not built any Zerglings, I guess we can kind of justify it. And he did manage to get the 3rd hatchery down, but it is not as clean as what Serral is looking for. And we know that Serral always strives for perfection. The man is never happy. Even when he wins, he always feels like he could have done a few things better. Losing 2 drones is not what he's looking for, but at least he's got a greedy start, and he did manage to get the 3rd hatchery down.
It's a real greedy start, yeah.
Oh,
like, nice save on that drone. I mean, we've seen a lot of little micro moments from both these players where it's been nothing short of perfection, and this Reaper, it's annoying. It does cause lost mining time and also the cancellation of the buildings.
Yep, and keep your eyes on those Hellions, right? Because Clem is obviously not crazy. He's like, man, I've been walking around with a Reaper for the last 2 minutes in your natural, in your main base, on top of the 3rd. I have not seen any units. What is going to stop Clem from trying to find some damage with the first 2 Hellions, or just going for it with 4 Hellions, as that Reaper does finally get taken care of? Apparently 3 Queens, creating a full wall off on the ramp, is going to keep these Hellions out for now. It's definitely been a risky way that Serral has played. I want to say he kind of got away with it in the end because he did not make any Zerglings, so losing those 2 drones is acceptable, but there was some lost mining time. He was forced to morph a lot of drones into buildings, and he's definitely still going to have a difficult time sending these drones over towards the 3rd.
Yeah, I mean, Banshees are going to be in the next layer of the harass, right? And I mean, this is a very similar build to what we've seen from Clem throughout this series. It's Serral that's been mixing it up a little bit, and Roaches, defensive Roaches. If I bring back a name from the past, like Nurchio-esque, where he always used to open up like this, take the bases, feel very safe with it. Now, he can drone up like crazy behind this for now, because as long as he doesn't take too much damage from the Hellions and Banshees, he's going to get into the game that he wants to be playing. But is Clem going to make it easy for you? Absolutely not.
Spore Crawler is ready though in the natural, so we should have an answer for this first Banshee. Queen gets a couple of hits off. Clem actually trying to get lucky there 15 seconds before a cloak is done, and he did find a single drone. It's not much, but against Serral, obviously he'll take every drone you can get, as the Hellions are potentially going to go for it here at the 3rd. This time around, the Evolution Chamber block does work, and that should give Serral some confidence, right? That he's starting to finally find his rhythm, that the clicks he's trying to make actually go through.
I actually love his positioning there. He had his Roaches in between the ramp to his natural and his main, or rather the 3rd. And then he was like, you know what, if I do this properly this time and it works out for me, the Evo block saved him a lot of time covering multiple angles.
We've seen 2 games where Clem obviously had good starts, where a lot of the things that Clem was looking for turned into gold, and he found damage, and we were playing Clem's game. I think for the first time we can actually look at a 6 minutes ZVT here and say, this went pretty good for Serral. Sure, that Reaper was annoying and found a little bit of damage, but besides that, it's about as clean as it's going to get. So this is a very different game than that first one and that second one, and that should give Serral some confidence, because this is the kind of start that he's obviously been practicing. He's got those 1 more upgrades finishing up. He's got Zergling speed on the way now. There's 1 more Cloak Banshee looking for a bit of damage in the main. Finds the first round. The second one gets saved as he also morphs that into a Spore Crawler. Overall, incredibly solid early game here coming out of Serral. And we've got a Nidus coming up as well. I mean, you mentioned Dark and Nidus City. Apparently Serral, a tiny bit inspired by all those Nidus networks.
I mean, this is a great map for it. It's one of the maps that I'm like, it's big, the natural, there's a huge space in there. And right now, would you be thinking about a Nidus? I feel it's really came back into fruition here in this tournament. I mean, Dark Alone's been very good with it. Now, Serral did not skip out on Widowmines, I believe. He was producing tanks, so will have the tools available. 1-1's very quick for him as well, but Serral's going to be planting out a huge number of units, and Clem has to find out where it's coming and when.
Well, he's got vision of the entire back corner of his main base. He is moving out though, and that's obviously risky because sometimes you need a little bit of Lady Luck as a Terran player. That you have a few units popping out of a barracks or a factory that actually gone down that first Nidus. As the Marines are here, they find a Queen. First Nidus attempt happening in the bottom left side, and kind of feels that Clem is paying more attention to whatever he was doing on the other side of the map. He needs to bring over some units, because if all of these roaches and ravages pop out of this Nidus in the main base, this is going to be really difficult, and Clem did not see that Nidus in time.
No, he did not. Serral's going to suffer a bit of a supply block here with the Overlord farm. The Banshee, it has a lot of work to do, and these Marines, they are dealing with the Ravagers quite nicely, but dealing with that tank on the high ground is going to be actually quite tricky. But the main, he's got nothing left. He even stopped the factory from producing a siege tank there with the Overseer. Great play out of Serral.
Yeah, but he's definitely not there yet, though. Clem still has a lot of armies flying. Clem has successfully killed the base on the other side of the map. The Banshee's working on the fourth as well. Now, killing the Orbital is fantastic news for Serral, but Serral has not done that devastating damage in the main base of Clem that I think he was looking for. And I'm starting to believe that this is looking better and better for the man from Team Liquid, as these Marines never turned around. They gone down 5 or 6 Overlords, which caused a very big supply block on the side of Serral, and that's why Serral is floating some money here as well. Serral got a base, but he has lost 2 bases in return, and now he really needs to get the job done with a bunch of roaches inside of the main base of Clem, but Clem still has tanks. I see 2 tanks siege up, a 3rd tank is coming in the mix. This does not look good for the man from Finland.
No, 2 base Zerg against 2 base Terran, and Clem's not done on his side of the thing either. Now, no reinforcements, no retreat either. That's half his army morphing. They're not dealing damage at all, and Clem is going to get a massive cleanup on all these Ravagers. Oh my goodness.
The Nidus looked so promising for Serral, but it's really turning into a bit of a disaster, because he took a bad fight at the 3rd base of Clem. Even if he got that orbital, he never got that crazy damage in the main. And Clem, with all of those units out on the map, found those Overlords, found multiple hatcheries, and he's gonna gun down this Nidus as well. We've got a very hectic, chaotic game right now, but 2 base TVZ. Any Terran will say, yeah, I'll take that all week. Marine tank against 2 base Roach Ravager, that is a dream scenario for any Terran, even if he didn't even have to lose that 3rd orbital, to be completely fair. But we're not gonna talk about that, because Clem is playing one of the best of 5s of his life.
He absolutely is. If he didn't lose that orbital, I dare say Serral might have GG'd out of this game already, but feeling a glimmer of hope, it is enough to stay in this. If he can turn this one around from this point on, it'll be absolutely miraculous. Clem getting some big upgrades online. 2-2 on the way, +1 for the tanks as well. Means you can 2-shot those roaches from that point on. So Serral, he's, I mean, he's not out of the woods just yet, is he? He's going to try and re-establish his economy as best as he can.
What a day it's been for Team Liquid's Clem. A 3-2 victory over Reina that obviously was very close, was very competitive, but it put him here in the winners bracket match of Group B. And he is now what feels like seconds away from at least guaranteeing himself $80,000. Guaranteeing Team Liquid of a lot of points in the Club Rewards Championships. And obviously one of the best of 5s of his life. His 2nd ever offline victory against Serral if he gets the job done. And with every second that goes by, it is starting to look better and better. Even though Serral is obviously rebuilding on his own side of the map. And he's got +2 missile attacks on the way, he's got +2 carapace on the way, and he has dealt solid damage to Clem on the other side of the map. But this should be a dream scenario for Clem. Clem's army has a lot of potential against the army of Serral.
Yeah, you can't forget about these Niduses that could come out in fruition as well in the main base also. But 10 tanks online, +1 about to finish for them as well. You're not dealing damage to that. You've just got to weather the storm that Clem's going to throw at you. And Clem, I think the only thing that's stopping him from sending it across the map is the fact that there are Niduses still alive, but very quick to react over here.
Absolutely. I think Clem is completely aware of the amount of economic damage he has dealt. And of course, he took a bit of a beating on his own side of the map. So at this point, it's all about keeping it together and just not doing anything silly. He's got the mobility on his side. He's got the DPS on his side. The only thing that could ever go wrong for Clem is if he starts falling apart. Kind of like this. There's a lot of units derping in the corner of his natural as he's flying around with a medevac in the main base. Serral, I think, knows that at this point, Roaches, Ravages, Nidus networks, they will probably not cut it. He's going to have to come up with something different.
Yeah, he certainly is. I mean, I don't really know what Serral has to keep doing in this situation. He is going to work his way up to Hive, going to even out the upgrades, getting 2-2. But this situation, like a minute ago, or a few minutes ago even, looked way worse for Serral. Like he was down in supply, down in workers, and right now, maybe the threat of the Nidus is enough to just, I was going to say keep Clem back, but he is not about staying back in this situation. Even trying to use Burrow to save these queens in the main base, but this tank army. Does he have an answer?
There are 14 tanks, and Serral obviously is an absolute master in gunning down some tanks with Ravagers, and Serral will look for this freebie. Serral's got the supply on his side, but the supply can absolutely lie in this matchup, especially when it's Roach Ravager. But if you give Serral the opportunity to get another Nidus up in the main base while you're moving out, there is a chance that Nidus did come online. We have a couple of Roaches with Burrow right now coming out. Did Clem leave any tanks behind? Yeah, he's got tanks for days. He's got one tank siege, a couple of the other tanks are just doing their thing. And look at the positioning of all of these tanks, and without Vipers, this is hell for the Zerg.
It really is. So many Ravagers biting the dust there. A lot of them left battered and bruised as well. Supply still relatively close in this matchup, but remember, Roach Ravager is meant to be ahead in supply, massively so. Now, Serral is finding ways to deal damage, and remember that third base that died earlier, this could have very well been a fourth. Serral is making a real meal out of this one.
It is very impressive what Serral is doing with very limited units, because Roaches and Ravagers are not supposed to find this much success against a Terran player with 14 tanks and all this well-upgraded bio. But Clem's army is still so freaking powerful, and it's incredibly difficult for a couple of Roaches and Ravagers to take care of it. And there is a moment where Serral is going to be forced to fight all these tanks, to fight these bio units, and we can't just get the job done anymore with a couple of burrowed Roaches. We've got Vipers on the way, and with Vipers, there absolutely is a chance for Serral, but it's still going to take a little while until they've got energy. There is a missile turret here too, because Clem obviously was aware of the fact it was Burrow. He saw the Queen Burrow earlier, and I'm sure he's taking a good look at these Roaches as well and realized they've got some spikes on their back.
It certainly has, and he has to float over his main right now, so Clem isn't as rich as he looks taking this fourth base, and remember, like, if your main floats over, you're a little bit more exposed, and Serral's still trying to do damage in that main with that Nidus, and there are tanks sitting and waiting, which can be very problematic if you are a Zerg player. A few of those Roaches surviving with very, very little health against these tank shots, but remember, Serral isn't rich at all. He can't be affording to trade inefficiently here.
It really does feel that Serral's doing about as good as he humanly can with very limited units, but his army is not getting any better anytime soon. He did manage to re-establish a fourth base in the center, but that's going to be so damn difficult to defend. Those mineral patches are still up, all of those rocks are still up, and these units of Clem are still fast. They're going to be all over the place. Clem has made life maybe a little bit harder on himself than it should, but that could be some nerves as well, right? Clem is seconds away of what feels like one of the biggest wins of his career. Money-wise, the absolute biggest. Potential-wise, it's the absolute biggest. So I do think it's normal that some nerves are starting to show, but I want to say that Clem is still in a really good spot as long as he doesn't lose everything against a couple of parasitic bombs.
Beautiful split straight away. They were all stacked. That must have been so hard to do. But these Roaches in the main, I mean, getting any tanks, but Clem is not about sitting and taking it either. Both of them absolutely dishing it out to one another on each side of the map. We're at 53 drones versus 48 SCVs 15 minutes into the game.
It's beautiful. It's a very scrappy game here on Amphion, but Serral knows that this is still an incredibly tough battle to win. He fired up 20 Zerglings, but I don't believe that we have Adreno glands. Serral's obviously not been very rich ever since he lost all those bases. As we can see, that there are really no upgrades for these Zerglings. Yes, they have +2 carapace, but 0 melee upgrades on the Zerglings is going to make it incredibly difficult for them to have much of an impact. The only thing you can really hope for if you're Serral is that those Zerglings somehow manage to get on top of all the tanks, and the tanks do a lot of friendly fire.
Yeah, they're just fodder at this point, aren't they? They are not there to deal damage. They're there to just help out a little bit, be a little bit of a cushion right now, but he's scrambling. He's trying to get anything going, and Clem, how many workers have been killed this game by these players? Because I dare say 29 drones, 26 SCVs, very, very close. Resources lost out overall in favor of Clem, but we knew that. And now Ghost coming out into the field as well as a Lurker Den, but going for a Lurker Den when you're on 50 drones just feels... I mean, Serral's been fighting a very wounded game.
Desperate times call for desperate measures. I don't hate the call there by Serral, because Ultras without melee upgrades, they're not going to make the difference. The Zerglings without Adreno glands and melee upgrades, they won't do it. We are not rich enough for Banelings. He needs something magical. So then you may as well hope that you can get a couple of Lurkers online. Ooh. As we do see an abduct on one of the medevacs. The second medevac gets abducted as well. Clem drops a little bit of supply, but Clem just continues to find damage as he's really taking full advantage of the fact that this has been a different game, a very messy and scrappy game. There is limited vision for the Zerg. We never talk about Serral having limited vision. Serral sees everything all the time, but this game has just been so crazy that not even Serral has the setup that he's used to.
No, definitely not. I mean, he's getting big upgrades online, trying to get lurkers out. He does have a big gas bank available, 1,000 gas to spend, so he can start getting those lurkers transformed, but look how much anti-lurker we have right now. He does spot quite a bit of it moving by that angle with a Zergling burrowed, but still seeing it isn't dealing with it, and oh my goodness, that is so many ghosts.
Yep, and if you're Serral, your heart will sink because you have fought so hard to find a way back into this game, but that is not 1 or 2 goals. We are looking at 11 goals making it to the front line. Serral's gonna go for one final counterattack, but there are tanks for days. Clem had 14 tanks at one point. He's got 17 tanks now. 17 tanks and 11 goals, 31 Marines with +3 attack as well. It is really an unfair fight, and the only thing that could really go wrong for Clem is the biggest move command in history into a couple of lurkers. This game has Liquid Clem written all over it, and I think we can start seeing Clem go into that final 4. He just needs to land a few snipes. Don't do anything silly. Oh, what a series this has been from the young Frenchman.
It really has been immaculate from him, and snipes go down the Vipers. Some blinding clouds do drop as well, but this is an unfair fight. There will be Ravager bars going down, trying to make the most out of it, but GG! Liquid Clem, the second player to move into the top 4, and you can see how happy he is. The absolute biggest win of his career thus far, and what a player to do it against. The final boss, the Finnish Phenom. Well played, good sir.